I started practicing yoga while I was at university. I was 18 years old, and a friend of mine asked me if I'd like to go along to a class with her. And I'd never really heard much about yoga or done any yoga before, but I was quite into exercising. And I thought I'd be willing to give it a go. I like trying new things. And I really enjoyed the class. It was very slow, quite gentle, evening class, low lighting. And it was at an Osho centre, and my friend was really into it, and I started going with her every week because I liked the effect that it had on me. I liked the effect that it had not just on my body but also on my mind more, because I'd been studying a lot. I was doing my finals at my university, studying psychology, and I felt like it was a good antidote to the stress of all the work that I was doing, to actually have an hour just to relax, really, and let go. I never planned on becoming a yoga teacher. It definitely wasn't on my list of things I wanted to do. I was actually working as a documentary filmmaker at the time, and I was just doing yoga classes because I loved the way that it made me feel. I really enjoyed learning something new, and the more I became hooked on the yoga, the more I wanted to learn. So I ended up going on a teacher training course just because I loved doing yoga, and it was a 1 week course in Ashtanga yoga, which is the more dynamic form of yoga. And friends of mine were on it, and I wanted to go and learn more about yoga with them. So I did my 1 week training with them. And then after I'd completed it, I was asked by quite a few people if I would teach them because I was telling them about the course. So I ended up teaching accidentally, without really intending to. And it just really snowballed from there. The more people that I taught, the more people would hear about it. I started teaching my mother and her friends in the countryside, and I would drive for an hour to teach for an hour and then drive an hour back. And then once I got bored of travelling so much in the car just to go and teach little classes, I ended up finding classes nearer my house. A friend of a friend opened a studio not far from me and asked if I'd be interested in teaching there. And I could carry on doing my job in the day and then teaching in the evenings. And I realised that I loved doing it, and I was asked to teach more and more classes. And in the end, I ended up focusing more on my yoga, less on my work, and that became my work. So I fell into it, really. I studied shiatsu for 3 years before I became a yoga teacher. I was still practicing yoga and going to classes and really into my yoga, and I decided that I'd be interested in trying to learn some sort of energy work. I did a short course in Reiki, which I really enjoyed, and then I heard about a shiatsu course from a friend of mine who'd done one, and it sounded really interesting, and I really liked the idea of having a system behind this energy work. With the Reiki, I found that it felt good, but I wanted to have more of a framework and a whole system of philosophy. And I found that shiatsu provided this because it was actually based upon a lot of thousands of years worth of empirical evidence, and it was a really interesting system. And I was very interested in the theory behind all the shiatsu as well as the actual practical application of it. And so I was studying shiatsu for 3 years, and I was doing my yoga alongside the shiatsu, and then I started to see that there were quite a few areas of overlap, which made me interested in those areas. And one of those areas of overlap was the elements, which is what I decided to base the yoga DVDs on. There's elements of within the yoga of the earth, the fire, the air, the water. And there are elements, the 5 elements in shiatsu, which they actually add wood to it: earth, wood, metal, fire, and air. So I was interested in any areas where I could find this overlap, and this was one area which caught my interest. Shiatsu is a really ancient system of healing, and it was started in, well, it's kind of got a mixture of Chinese and Japanese roots, but it's mainly, we think of it more in the West as being a Japanese tradition that came from Japan to the West. And it's a system of points in the body and channels of energy. And in yoga, we have the nadis, which are the channels of energy running through the body, and there are 72,000 channels. And in shiatsu, we have many different channels, and the points along the channel relate to different parts of the body and different organs. And in order to have good health, we have to balance the channels of energy. So shiatsu is like acupuncture, but instead of using needles, we use thumb pressure along the points. And we're awakening the channels which might have become blocked, and helping the energy to flow more smoothly and fluidly around the body, helping us to become more balanced and feel more alive. I think even if you don't have children, or even if you're not working full-time or part-time, that most people have stress in their lives. You know, we live in quite a fast society where we're trying to juggle lots of different things. And yoga just gives you a tool of being able to cope when you feel like you've got a lot of demands on you, or stress in your life, or it might be just at a time when you're feeling stressed. Yoga just gives you that sense of everything's okay, a feeling of sanity, of realizing that you've got tools to stay calm and relaxed and learn how to focus. And we talk about in the earth energy practice remaining unshakable no matter what is thrown your way. Yoga gives you tools so that if you're stressed, not just in terms of balances to help you feel more balanced, but also breathing techniques, which are very useful in times when there might be just moments of panic, or situations, or maybe a whole stage of your life when you're feeling anxious, and you can use these breathing techniques. It might be a time when you're not being able to sleep properly, and you've got breathing techniques that you can use to help you to clear your mind. It's a way to stay grounded, to stay, you know, when you've got a lot of stress and children demands on you as a mother, as a wife, as a teacher. Yoga gives you a sense that you're not just those things, you're actually yourself, and you don't have to always be in a different role, but you can actually do some yoga and forget about everything else that's going on and just be you. My favourite pose, I wouldn't really say I have one favourite pose, or I might say that at different stages during my yoga I've had different poses which I've really enjoyed doing, or loved doing, or not enjoyed doing, and they tend to change throughout. At different times of your life you've got different things happening. There are different seasons, different times of the day. You're a different age. You might want to practice more dynamically when you're younger and you've got a lot more energy. You might be feeling a bit tireder when you've got young children and need more restorative poses. So depending on what's going on during your life at that time, I think you need to adapt your yoga practice. I always enjoy personally doing inversions. I love being upside down. My first baby never turned the right way up, and I don't know if it was because I spent a lot of time upside down and maybe she didn't know which way was up or down, but I definitely enjoy the inversions. They make you feel quite alive and invigorated and give you a lot of energy. But there are times when if it's in the evening and you need to actually be relaxing, that there might be other poses that are more appropriate, lying with the legs up the wall to help you relax, or shoulder stand, which are also inversions, helping to reverse the flow of energy and to recharge you, but not quite so invigorating. But first thing in the morning, it might be great to help you to wake up to do more of a headstand or a handstand. And personally, I love doing back bends. So the wheel or the camel pose, helping to open up the heart, making you feel more, they're really helpful for making you more extrovert, helping you to communicate more with other people, to be out there in the world rather than to be withdrawn in your centre. The forward bends are more introverting poses and the back bends are more extroverting poses, and you can really feel the difference in your energy if you do a class or a practice which is more focused on one of those things. Yoga, I think, has helped me become a more patient person, which has been useful, especially when you have young children. Because, as I said before, it helps you to deal with the stresses and tension and demands of daily life. I also think it helps you to learn to read your own energy. You start to learn to notice when you're a bit off balance and how you can maybe get back on balance. Whereas if you don't have yoga as a tool, I mean, you might decide to go for a run because you're feeling too busy in your head, too stressed, anxious, or you might go to the pub and have a few pints or go for a dance. But for me, yoga has been a good tool to help me to stay in balance, and also to be very more aware of my energy levels. What things do I do that deplete me, make me really exhausted? What things do I do that give me energy, and how can I keep my energy levels up? And yoga is one way of noticing my energy, but also helping to boost my energy levels if I am feeling tired or off balance or jet lagged or whatever it is. And so that's been really good. The main message I would say is that when you're a beginner at yoga, you think it's all about what the yoga poses look like. In fact, it puts most people off ever starting yoga because you think, I'm really stiff, I can't touch my toes, what's the point? I'm really embarrassed, I shouldn't go to a yoga class. Maybe I'll buy a DVD actually so no one will have to watch me. But the main thing is that the more you do yoga, the more you realise that it's not actually at all what it looks like. And actually, by the time you realise that, you probably look okay doing the yoga. But at the beginning, when you are quite self-conscious, you need to really realise that the yoga works, and no matter what the pose looks like, you're getting the effects from the yoga. So I often say when I'm teaching a class, lean forwards and try touching your toes or whatever it is. But don't worry about where you're at. Don't worry about what the posture looks like, because actually you're getting the effects from the yoga, from trying the position, from feeling the stretch. It's more about bringing your energy away from your mind into your body, tuning into your body, and learning how to connect your mind to your body, learning how to breathe properly. And those things anyone can do. It's not at all what the yoga position looks like. And over time it will come, even though you think it never will. If you practice, your body will eventually get into these positions that you never think you'll be able to do. And in the end, it doesn't matter if you can or can't do them, because actually there might be some positions which you'll never be that good at because you've got shorter arms, or genetically there might be some sort of situation where you're not so able to get into a position. But eventually you should be seeing improvements with the practice. And it doesn't matter what the posture looks like. It's just about feeling and not really worrying about what the posture looks like, but you will feel better from doing the yoga. When I first started doing yoga, there were lots of positions that I wasn't good at. I felt incredibly stiff. There were things I thought I would never be able to do. My mother's the same. She can stand on her head now. She started yoga when she was in her 60s or late 50s. And she can still learn to stand on her head. So you can start at any age, you can start at any flexibility. And the great thing about yoga is that you can take it up in later life. I think it can help prevent aging in the body, prevent stiffness, tightness, which often cause backache, hip ache, shoulder pain. The muscles will start to contract if they're not opened and stretched. And people who are keen on sports like running or going to the gym, if they don't balance it with stretching or yoga, they will get very tight. More injuries are likely to occur, and in old age there will be tightness and probably aches and pains. Whereas if you look at people who have done yoga into their later life, maybe still in their 70s or 80s, they tend to feel still very good in their bodies, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. Why did I decide? I've mentioned already a little bit about why I decided to create this element series of yoga exercises and sequences. I was really interested in the overlap between the shiatsu and the yoga with the elements, and the way that different elements can make you feel when you connect to those elements. You can feel very grounded, but sometimes you need to have less grounding in your life. We're made up of all the elements, and when these elements get out of balance, that's a time when we might feel that we're not in good health or our energy levels are low. And by tuning into the different elements and trying to get them into balance, we can feel more energized, have better health, have less problems with our health, and psychologically feel better within ourselves. And so I realized when I was doing my yoga that you could really categorize these yoga exercises into how they made you feel in terms of the elements and which elements they were promoting or bringing up more. Some of them are obviously relating to more than one of the elements, but overall you can think of an earth practice and which postures help you to feel grounded, which postures help to move your energy away from your head when it's feeling really busy, bring you back down to earth and make you feel more stable. And which exercises are good for creating more air in the body, feeling of spaciousness when you're feeling contracted, you're feeling tight, you're feeling vulnerable, and you want to actually, it's like you want to spread your wings, you want to stretch out the body and feel uplifted, feel energized, and feel like you can breathe properly. There are times when we just feel like we can't breathe properly, and when we do feel we can breathe properly, we feel really good, we feel really alive. And with the fire energy, you know, there are times when we feel a bit dull, and it's also related to the seasons. You know, when we're in winter time, we might feel there's a bit of fire lacking because there's not much warmth. And so we might need more of a fire practice in the winter to help to really stimulate everything, to get the energy flowing, to get heat in the body, to feel more awake, more alive, to feel more vital, revitalized. When we're in the summer and it's feeling a bit hot and we're feeling a bit fired up, we may need a bit more of the water energy to calm us down, to soothe us, or we may need a bit more of the earth energy because we're feeling a little bit too fired up. So we can really use these different yoga exercises, use these different practices to create more of a balance, to create more of a harmony in our lives, to make us to feel better and to give us better energy so that we feel more balanced and feel more like ourselves. I haven't really got many plans for the future. I mean, I think maybe because of being in yoga and living life in a yogic way, I tend to really be more in the present. I'm not one of these people who says the next year I want to do this, or this is what or look back at the last year, this is what I've been doing. Interestingly, actually, I tend to just think, right, this is what I'm doing now. If someone comes up to me and says, what about this project? Or if I've got an idea for a new project, I'll do it. But it was the same with my yoga teaching. I think the things that fall into place are the things that are meant to happen, and those things tend to be good projects or good things that are happening in your life. Whereas if you start kind of grasping, oh, I really want to do this, or I really wish I could do this, maybe those things aren't really meant to be. I mean, obviously it's great to have aspirations and things that you'd like to do, but I've found that the things that have tended to just fall into place without really too much planning are the things that are maybe meant to be.